All right, so let's talk about supplies first. So you're gonna need to pick up a pencil and then also a paper towel. That'll come in handy later when you're painting. Now at your table, you're gonna have some brushes and a little bit of water, and you're also gonna have a palette to share with your elbow partner, and that palette already has some nice red paint on it. All right, now, oh, and don't forget your paper, of course, paper. So, paper, pencil, paper towel is all you need to bring with you. When you get to your table, don't forget with your pencil, the very first thing you're gonna do is write your name, your table, and your grade. Then turn it over onto the other side and start with your horizon line. So your horizon line separates the sky from the land, and you're gonna put that towards the top of your paper. So not quite in the middle, towards the top. And on purpose, I don't make my line perfectly straight because the sky or the horizon line really wouldn't be perfectly straight. You're gonna have bumps, maybe even some hills. All right, next I'm gonna look at my picture here. So you have one of these to share at your table. I'm gonna take a look at it and I'm gonna think about those things we discussed with changing the size and spacing. And I'm gonna draw some poppies on my paper. I'm not worried about the grass today. So don't add stems, don't add grass yet. You're just painting your petals. I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. Okay, I know it looks kind of weird, but I kept it super simple for a reason because I know later I'm gonna go and add the black centers to my poppies, maybe even some details in the petals. So for now, I just kind of made them oval shapes and really concentrate on the size and spacing. So I put big ones here in the front and not as many, and then I made them get closer together and smaller as they went back. Next, I get to do the fun part, which is actually start to paint my poppies. So I'm gonna use my brush and this red paint, and pretty simple, I'm just gonna slowly and carefully fill in all those circle shapes that I made. I'm not gonna draw individual petals because later when we have our black paint, and that will be tomorrow, we can add all those details. All right, so don't panic if it looks kind of funny. Some things that will help you out are making some of your poppies go off the page and making sure that it's not too perfect. You don't want your shapes perfect and you don't want it perfectly gridded out either. You want a kind of random look. All right, you guys have fun? Try it out. All right, so now for the super fun part. You're gonna be adding the details like petals and this like center part that you see on the poppy. At its most simple, it's gonna look like a circle toward the center, but you can get more creative than that. So especially on your poppies here in the front, you're gonna wanna add a little more detail. So I am gonna start with just a simple circle, or maybe an oval. But then I'm gonna look at my reference for some ideas for details. So I noticed that it's kind of got sometimes these little like things that kind of come up from the center. So I'm gonna add some of that. I'm gonna maybe even add some petals kind of coming in, kind of define the separate shapes. And I'm just gonna have fun with it. I want to go slow and careful so that I'm controlling my paint and not making a big mess. But if I make a mistake, I'm really going to focus on working with that mistake. I'm not starting over. Sometimes those mistakes become what I like best about my paintings anyways. All right, so I have one poppy done. I'm going to move on to the other ones here in the front, and I'm just going to add tiny details back here, but not very many. I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so there are some of my finished flowers. Back here in the very back, I had to go grab a very tiny brush for these little dots that you see here, so don't be afraid to do that. The brushes are over by the sinks. You might find one over there that works a little bit better, especially for these background poppies that are pretty small. All right, next up, grass. All right, so again, I'm gonna look at this example photo and I notice a lot of darks and lights like we talked about at the start of class. So I'm really gonna work with light greens, dark greens, and even maybe some yellows. And just like we did with the poppies, we're gonna make the grass or stems even that we see here bigger than the ones back here. And we're also gonna make these ones spaced out while these ones back here will be really close together. So I'm just gonna start with some blades of grass, maybe even draw some stems on there. And I'm gonna draw them big in the front. I'm even gonna use, actually, I'm gonna change that up. I'm gonna use darker greens here in the front and I'm gonna use my lighter greens mostly back here because things are darker. Makes it look like they're closer to us when we use darker lines up at the front. And then as I work my way back and start adding some grass back here, I'm gonna get less detailed with it and smaller. So I'm gonna keep doing that, working in some different colors of green, getting super small with my grass back here, kind of flicking my wrist to make that grass. Maybe even making it more like dots as it gets really close to the back. And already right here you can see it's making it look like this grass is close to us and all that other grass is far away. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. All right, so here's my grass about halfway done. Notice the blades of grass go off the edge, so make sure to start from the bottom up. And I like to focus on my foreground or the space closest to me first. Next, I'm gonna start working on this middle ground. And then finally, I do my really tiny grasses or almost dots at this point at the back. So I'll show you how I do this middle grass kind of. Mainly, I'm just doing marks. And then I'll go back in, use marks of different colors. Sometimes I let it overlap. And I try to use about the same kind of length. So this grass is really long, but this grass is more medium. All right, so my mid-ground grass is done. Now for my background, really I just go super fast. It's kind of fun. I should hear that. And then back here, I'm not even doing blades of grass anymore, I'm just doing dots. And I'll go in and I'll do that with my different colors. So that way it looks like it's really close together. So little tiny brush strokes or marks and then dots.